Yo, BJ GADDOUR with the BJ GADDOUR podcast, and we have an excellent episode planned for today. My guest will be Justin Yule from the Great Lakes, Minnesota, a fellow Midwest man, a longtime dude in the fitness game. We have so much to talk about today, including, Justin's origin story. We're going to go through his top 5 transformation tips. Justin does an amazing job of helping busy men and women, all walks of life, particularly adults, make big changes in their life in and out of the gym. So we're going to share those. We're going to do some Ozempic. All right. This is the hottest thing right now. All these celebs are taking it. We actually know some people that have taken it. We're going to talk about the implications, short-term, long-term. We're also going to discuss AI. Now, I've done a podcast about ChatGPT specifically, and Justin has developed some resources for trainers to help take advantage of AI and kind of getting things done faster and, scaling your time better. But also, we are, I think, in the next 3 or 5 years, some crazy things are going to happen that basically could wipe me off the face of the earth. I'm all over the internet, so they could replicate me like this. So we'll talk about that, the future of fitness, nutrition specifically, because Justin has developed something called Nutrition OS that has basically become a go-to resource for trainers looking to teach people how to eat. All right. It's the biggest challenge, right? You can give people all the exercise in the world. If they don't change their diet, if they don't really approach it as a lifestyle, nothing long-term is going to happen. And we'll finish with a special project that Justin and I are working on together, online workout automator for trainers looking to build a 5 to 6 figure business in 2024. So great topics coming your way. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Quick housekeeping thing. Sponsors, okay? Brought to you by thedailybj.com. Free 7-day trial at thedailybj.com. All my workouts ad-free. Also, the only supplement I take daily. Okay, look at that. You want 5 of these for free and a free 1-year supply of vitamin D? Go through my link. It's a greens powder, yes. Best tasting, yes, but also a complete nutritional supplement, complete multivitamin, 75 whole food ingredients, 8 to 12 servings of fruits and vegetables. All right. So you got to get it. And also all the drip you see, all the gear I wear in my videos. All right. Sleeves sold separately.com. We manufacture in downtown LA. All right. So we don't give you sweatshop prices because we don't do that sweatshop bullshit. All right. Best fits and fabrics in the game. So check it out too. So Justin, welcome to the show, baby.
Hey, thanks, man. It's kind of hilarious. You're rocking a tank top over there in California. I'm sitting here in a freaking sweatshirt, hoodie up in Minnesota, freezing my tail off.
Look, man,
you got out.
I did. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, for those that don't know. So I know what that's all about. And we just talked, before the call, a couple of things. One, I put on my special fake gold chain just to kind of look pretty for you. And you got a 3-year plan, I think, to maybe become a snowbird.
That's right.
Living the dream.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Snowbirds do it best, by the way, in my opinion.
Yep. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
So I want to talk to you quickly. Let's go through kind of origin story within fitness. I call you the Silver Fox.
Yep.
Is that a nickname that people go with? I mean,
no one comes up with the nicknames like you. I mean, Sultan of Sweat. Come on. I mean, get the Metabolic Messiah. I mean, there's so many.
The Prince of Perspiration.
That's right, Prince Perspiration. I know all the old ones. I've been around a while.
Now I'm Uncle Baby the Biscuits.
That's right.
Or the Baby the Biscuit. And by the way, people have asked me, what is that about? Well, it's Uncle because I'm old as fuck. It's Baby because I'm still young in heart. And frankly, I look pretty damn good for 41. And Biscuits because I love biscuits. So it's just a beautiful blend.
Conglomerate. Perfect.
What's been also the Emperor of Exercise?
Yeah.
There's a lot of great ones. By the way, all self-proclaimed.
Exactly. Yes.
So how'd you get started in this whole game? And one thing I want to say, just to give people some understanding of why I brought you on. First of all, I only bring on the best in the business. Justin is maybe the best salesperson I've ever encountered in and out of the gym. He's got and he's going to talk about this, a long time track record in clubs. Obviously, he has his own gym now in Minnesota, the Transformation Club, I believe it's called. And I mean, this guy just, one thing, and here's what I'll say. I like to sell, especially when I'm passionate about something, but I don't like doing sales copy, but when I kind of got to know him, this guy gets hard. Like you get excited by doing this stuff, which is great because, that's what it takes to be successful in anything. You got to really want to do it.
For sure. I don't know how deep you want to go back to, childhood and whatnot. Dude, I'm a product, I was born in 75. I'm a product of the 80s, Arnold, Sly, action heroes, He-Man, right? X-Men, so that was, 80s bodybuilding, right? So it was all like in your face, right? So, I was an overweight kid. I was shy. I was quiet. So, got in the gym. My dad got me in the gym. He worked out when I was like 13, and I really fell in love with it. I still literally have on the shelf over there the first mail order. This is mail order back in the day book on bodybuilding, fitness. So yeah, I really got into it 13, 14 years, just reading about the science, exercise programming, biomechanics, all that kind of stuff, just kind of tickled my fancy, if you will. Little known fact, I went to Joe Weider's bodybuilding camp in California way back in the day, which was a hell of an experience. Got to meet all the pros, and it was just a really cool experience. One summer I was there for a few weeks, which was really awesome. But yeah, I just got into it.
Tell me, I just need to stop you for a second. So tell me what goes on at Joe Weider's camp. Are you guys working out, or is it just like lectures?
It's mixed everything and a lot of eating. So for me, because I was there for a couple of weeks, like usually you go for like a week or 5 days or whatever it was, like there's groups, and I think I went for 3 groups. So very quickly the counselors realized who I was, and I was really young, right? I think I was 15, 16 years old, right? So I was like the youngest one there by far. And a couple of counselors took me under their wing. So I'd get up with them at 4 o'clock in the morning and work out with them before camp even started. And then there was like different workouts throughout the day. Food was amazing. Lectures in like classroom style. But then also there'd be lectures / guest posing from the pros. So, I mean, all the pros back in the day got to meet. Pretty wild. Dorian Yates who was the guy was really up and coming at that point. He was, this is like the Lee Haney era transition to Dorian Yates, for those who know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the exact year, but yeah, it was a great time. It really was. So when it came time for college, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up, but I knew I liked fitness and working out. So I was like, well, let me just go study exercise science and learn as much as I can. And that's kind of, naturally put me into the gym setting for my internship. And that's kind of what put me on the trajectory into the health club setting, which you mentioned. So the first half of my career, I've been doing this for almost 30 years. First half of my career was health clubs. And then the second half has been my own business. And it's funny, you mentioned earlier, I appreciate the commentary about, my sales prowess, if you will. I did not come up that way, actually, believe it or not. It was born out of necessity. So my first year working for a major health club chain, it became pretty apparent to me at the time. I'm living in Northern Virginia. I'm actually from Long Island, New York. So I did a little time in Connecticut for my internship, but ultimately I ended up in Virginia, Northern Virginia. And I very quickly realized like this like $35,000 a year income, it ain't going to work here in Northern Virginia, right? One of the most expensive areas in the country to live. And B, it's like, this ain't my thing. This is not what I signed up for. I always saw myself, making, good income. So I'll never forget sitting down in a kitchen with my girlfriend at the time going, this isn't going to work. Like, I can't do this, but I also don't want to be the guy, and no offense to anybody who's done this, who like 6 careers later from his degree, still young at that point. I'm still paying off my student loans. I don't want to be like doing something completely different. And I had no clue what I wanted to be, because in high school it was like, honestly, it was like Air Force or fitness. Those are the 2 things in my head. Seriously, I was going to fly jets or get into fitness, and I went the fitness route because military just wasn't my bag, right? It wasn't for me. So I got to figure this shit out, right? So here's a lesson to all the trainers out there. I mean, the first thing I did, which nobody ever taught me, was like, well, what's my nut, right? We hear that, right? What's your monthly nut or your annual nut? Like, what do you got to make, right, just to sustain? And then like, what are your goals? Right. So I sat down and I was like, okay, here's my monthly nut. Here are some just short-term goals, not long-term trying to be a millionaire or anything, but like, what was my number? And the number at the time was double what I was making. Right. So that was a real kick in the ass. Right. So nobody was making that money really, unless you up in like management. And like, here I am, my first year of training. So I had to figure it out. So it came down to A, knowing what I needed, a goal, and then B, like putting a plan together. So I reverse engineered like all the ways I could make money. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of ways in the business, and right down to how many people I would need to meet per day based on my conversation to consultation to close, average sale per close. I just started playing the numbers, and this is not my thing at the time. And but there was nobody to help me. So I just figured it out and I put a plan together. And the plan at the time, the first month of my plan was January of 2002, I think. I had to write $15,000 in revenue. Right now, at the time, in personal training at a health club, 5 was the average, 7 were the studs, right? And I was in that 5 to 7 range, so I had arrived, right? Nobody was doing 15, not on a consistent basis, right? So it's like, well, let's do or die. So I had to very quickly get into mindset, something we'll probably talk about later, and money, right? And put those two together, and you can get good at sales, right? And I blew that number away that first January. I blew the number away for the year. Instead of making 70, I made 90. The next year I made over 100, and it just kept kind of going from there. But it was born out of necessity, because this is what I want to do. And I think a lot of trainers in the fitness space, they want to be in the gym environment. Maybe they want to actually help people, but they don't do what it takes to actually make it a career, which is why they either phase out very quickly. The average trainer lasts like 3 to 6 months. Right? Or they are that forever trainer that's forever broke. Right? And I didn't want to be either one of those things.
I'll take it one step further. And I've been there too, with that mindset where they actually don't even want to make money, because there's this like black hole in the mind about them not deserving it. It's a self-worth thing. It's about them, still to this day, there's a lot of that. Well, I would do this for free, and people need it because everyone's hurting. They're sick. They're overweight. But doctors don't do that. Right. Lawyers don't do that. All right. And again, I always hate to kind of equivocate with like the real professions, but at the end of the day too, that's part of the problem. We don't consider ourselves worthy. Though at the end of the day, people are often coming to us to help them solve all their problems.
Yeah. And the other side of it too, right, that I found, because, I ultimately got into, because of my success, I ultimately got into then coaching other trainers and teaching sales trainings. I mean, I wrote the scripts that became for that entire national company became the scripts. I wrote those scripts. But when you get to the mindset piece, what I very quickly learned, because I realized it in myself, but I had to get over it very fast. But then as I was training trainers, I learned this. And even to this day, when I train trainers who own their own businesses, there's a mindset of, well, I can't afford that. So how can I ask them to pay that? Right. And we have to realize, especially as a young trainer, 23, 24, 25, coming out of school, you're not your target market. You're not the 45 or 50-year-old, business person who can pay you 70 or 100 or 125 bucks an hour, depending on what you're charging, where you're living. Right. So like, at that time, this is like I said, early 2000s, it was like 70 bucks a session. I'm like, I can't pay, it was $560 and $820, I think, were the prices for 2 times a week and 3 times a week, for a month. You can't drop that kind of coin every month. Right. And with that mentality, you'll never sell, because you're not your client, and you have to get past that.
Well, a big piece of that too is, if you want to be in sales, you've got to become very comfortable. You almost have to enjoy rejection, because because it's so defeating early on, because you can try to sell to 100 people and no one buys. And some people fold, other people, it motivates them so deeply that they just do an amazing amount of additional work, or they flip the script, or they just find a way to succeed. Again, this is the winner's mentality. Again, that's why sales is not for everyone, for this reason, because rejection is brutal, man. Rejection is brutal. It takes its toll. And, that's obviously something that you had to get over quite quickly. What was it for you? Because people deal with this, whether they're in sales or not. What they want to ask someone out, they want to, ask for a favor, whatever it is, or, just people are afraid to take action because of rejection, myself included, many times over the years. How did you get over that?
This is going to sound so cliche, but it's 100% true. I had a strong why. From the this is what I want to do with my life, career, to the I don't want to do something else and still pay for a degree in this, right? Both ends of the spectrum. Like I had a strong why, like this is it, man, it's do or die. And I had goals. And so I just looked at it from that standpoint, and it became very black and white, saying I have to make this much money, right? This is based on, it's basic as the monthly nut or the annual nut to the goals that I want to achieve. I have to make this much money, and knowing, okay, well, if this is what the average sale is, this is what I charge. You can reverse engineer that down to why I have to have 10 conversations today with people on the floor, right? If I don't have, the free fitness assessments in my schedule, maybe there's 2 in my schedule today because, every new member gets a free assessment, and, a health club setting, well, I got to go find 8 other people to have conversations with, right? Otherwise, I'm behind a day, and you can very quickly get behind. So I would sit down at the end of every shift, every day, and I would tally up where am I at and readjust my numbers for the remaining of the month, right? And that might sound like overkill, but, I got, if I made it 9 yards, well, tomorrow I got to get 11 because I'm supposed to get 10 a day, right? If I made it 8, tomorrow I got to get 12. If I made it 13, well, I can not necessarily take my foot off the gas and only get 7 tomorrow, but if I want to, I can, right? And that's kind of the mentality I had. And I'd always try to finish my month early. And not deal with that. If you've been in the health club setting, what closeout is. I never really want to be a part of that. So try to get away from it.
It's like the cops at the end of the month trying to get the speeding tickets.
Yeah, right.
So look, one thing there just to unpack is what's endemic, I think, to your success in and out of the gym is you're committed to the process. You mentioned, I want to make X amount of money. You obviously have outcomes in mind, goals in mind, but the big number that stuck out to me was 10 conversations.
Yeah.
Right. When I look at social media marketing, it's getting out at least 1 post a day and a newsletter. And then if I can get in more, great. But I know if I continue that process by the end of the year, ebbs and flows up and down, nobody else is going to be doing that.
Right.
Beyond the fact that what I try to focus on is giving people for free what other people charge for. So when you can do that consistently and you focus on the process part of it, 1,000 uploads to YouTube versus how many subscribers you have. These are the things that end up paying dividends long term. Now, I want to skip ahead now to how you transition from, selling in health clubs to starting your own gym. And that's actually kind of probably around the time when we first connected.
Yeah, it is. It's just one little analogy I'll give you going back to what we were talking about earlier. It's sets and reps, just like working out. Yes. Right. If you look at what's work, sets, reps, weight, right? Totally equals workload for the workout. How do you make the workout more dense? Well, you either add more sets, more reps, or more weight in the same time period. Same concept, right? So anyway, the transition was, funny thing is if I go back to college, I remember my English, my level 1 English freshman class, I literally had to do a creative writing project, and what came out of me was owning my own gym. And I got into the health club space naturally with an internship. And then I got connected to another health club. And, I just found myself down that path, and it was very lucrative. I had risen through the ranks. That's how I got to Minnesota. That's where the headquarters is, had, kind of national attention. I was in charge of training of trainers, and, it was a good career. But ultimately, as the more I got up into corporate, the more I realized this is not me. I'm a kind of in the trenches, on the ground. If I have an idea today, I want to execute on it today, not 6 months from now. I don't want to be in meetings with people who've never actually been in the field. So I very quickly fell out of love with the corporate side of things. And then through some life changes, divorce and all that kind of stuff, ultimately I found myself starting my own business. I started searching out in 2008. This is going back, what's outside these 4 walls of this big health club company, right? Because that's all I knew. Are there actually trainers out there who aren't just struggling, but are actually successful? Did some searching, Googling, and I found, this is a summer day, I'm sitting by myself, and I found Ryan Lee and Pat Rigsby, right? And so I kind of went down the Pat Rigsby trail, and it was, he was hosting that fall, him and his partners at the time were hosting at Club Industry. They were hosting a 1-day free kind of seminar thing. And you could pay $250 to get a one-on-one or one-on-two with with him and his partner at the time. And I paid for I'm like, well, shit, I'll go ask some questions. Right. So I went to this event, And I'm pretty sure I actually briefly ran into you at dinner. It was a lot of the old school guys who were there that night. I think you were there. I'm not 100% sure, but this is the thing that connected me to you, and I'll get to that. So only 2 people of all the people in the room had signed up for this 1 hour with Pat and his partner at the time. I'm like, this is crazy, right? And the other guy had to leave. I purposely booked another night at the hotel because you just never know, right, from a networking standpoint. So Pat's a big Ohio Buckeyes fan, so he's like, hey, look, we're going to go to this bar. We're going to have lunch. We'll do our one-on-one there. Cool, right? Like 10 hours later, we left. And I had met a bunch of people. I feel like you might have been there. I know like Will Fleming was there. Ryan Ketchum was there. Some of the old school guys who were in that circle back in the day. You may or may not have been there. You might not remember it all. But what connected me to you at the time was Pat was he was getting ready to launch the boot camp blueprint. Now I'm still working for the health club, but boot camps were hot, and you guys had put together this kind of course/mastermind for boot camp owners. And I signed up, not having my own business, still working in a health club. It was $200 a month. I'm like, whatever, I'm going to pay $200 a month just to learn. So that if I ever do decide to go on my own, I'm equipped. Right. So a few months had gone by. And when I finally decided to make the move, I felt very prepared because of being part of that group and the relationship that I had started to build. So kudos to you and the Bootcamp Blueprint.
That was a special time, man. Again, those that are listening, the recession of 2008 hit, and out of necessity, because, people paying $100 to $200 plus for a single personal training session just started to not make sense for the average person. In a boot camp setting, you can get 20 plus people in there. It's limited by how many people you can coach or the space, at only $10 to $20 a session, right? A fraction of the cost. Like all good business, that's disruptive, right? You're solving typically a problem related to price and access. And we happen to be lucky enough. A lot of it's timing, but a lot of it's also vision. All right, and acting immediately. And we were able to kind of set a foundation for, hundreds of trainers to kind of build, make more work less and find a way to stick it out in this very challenging industry. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, because you're still in it. Half the people that own gyms or that were in fitness in general are gone after the pandemic. And I wanted to talk about, like, you shared some of the struggles you had, the innovations you had to make within the gym to still be there. And again, these are the things that you look for. It's like you're absolutely, you see all these products, make more money, all of a sudden make $1 million. But what about the hard times? Because no matter what you choose to do, you will be put in a situation where your back is against the wall, you're in a corner. But again, those that stick it out, they fight their way out. They just find a way. So talk to me about, again, it's one of those things. I always like to kind of bring up the pandemic when we talk about this, because it was such a seismic shift, and it's going to be part of all of our identities moving forward. I don't mean to beat a horse, but this is a big part of, I think, a credit to who you are as a person, your character, in terms of how you dealt with it.
Yeah. So there's a couple of routes that you could choose to go, and I think the blend is the best. So it's funny how you said, because I remember like starting in 2009, like right after the recession, which was a rough time to start a brand new business, but it was that shift to going to a lower cost option, boot camp, group style. That was the way, right? And I had a lot of success. We had built a really successful nationwide boot camp program in the health club chain that I was part of. So I had experience with that. With the pandemic, it actually, what we found, because I do coaching for business coaches, is the opposite direction. Going more expensive was actually the savior for many gyms. Was shifting from maybe what had become that large group personal training is what bootcamp kind of evolved into. But then you saw a lot of large group personal training businesses shifting into semi-private and even private again. And getting, because you need to be in smaller spaces, people want to be around less people, but there are people who are at this point willing to pay the higher dollar amount. Maybe they didn't want to go to a health club, but they would come to a training gym and work out with 4 or 6 other people, right? So that shift was very popular in the transition of gyms that survived. That wasn't a desire in my way at all. I've run semi-private, I've done private, I've done all of it, and I just didn't want to go in that direction. So I kind of decided to, knowing, and I'm actually coaching other trainers to transition this way, but I'm not. Because there's also, for me, there's the passion. I'm a large group guy, kind of like you. I like to be, there's an energy thing to it, right? And even though I wasn't coaching anymore, it's still my gym. Where we went, though, was we went into more, I hate the term high ticket. So we call it more high value, high impact training, which was things getting into very specialized training. My wife is the expert. I'm behind the scenes in terms of, she's a hormone and gut health specialist. So getting into programs now that are 12 weeks long, but cost $3,000, right? And, you know, being able to build a 6-figure nutrition coaching company on the back end of that, which will lead into kind of what we'll talk about later with Nutritional OS. So that's kind of the shift that we went into, some of this very specific symptom healing type of a situation, as well as deep into mindset. So those were the kind of the tracks that we went, still shifting to an online training as well. We had to make that shift. I mean, shit, our gym was closed for 5 months over the course of the year. You know, it was, what is it, 2.5 months? I think it was 2.5 months, and then again 2.5 months late, like two different times in the same year. You know, and then we had a mask mandate when we reopened. You know, that didn't help us out, right? So we had to shift to online, and I still have clients who were diehards at the gym who are now diehards online, right? They like the convenience and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of run both tracks to this day. But it's definitely, you know, you have to be willing to you know, see where the puck is going, like the Wayne Gretzky quote, right? And you got to skate to the puck. And, you know, for me, I skated to the puck in one aspect, and I actually ignored it in the other. But knowing that, and looking at other routes of income for myself, partnerships, and, you know, things that we'll be talking about later on. In fact, partnership with you now, right? Here we are a couple of years later. So I've been doing some different partnerships over the years too that have been beneficial.
You got to keep diversifying. You got to keep staying true to the original mission of the brand, and evolve where necessary, or also where you're willing to. Like you said, you might know that there might be a better decision here, but at the end of the day, like, building a business, in my opinion, as long as you don't have shareholders to answer to, which, especially in this case, you and I, we're the main shareholders of our business. We built it for ourselves. Yeah. Out of a lifestyle, number one, money, great. Money is what's needed to support the lifestyle, but money is secondary to freedom of schedule, the things you want to do day in, day out, spending more time with Janelle, your wife, with Naomi, my wife. You know, these are the things that I am always willing to pass up on some extra money if it takes me away from the lifestyle that I originally wanted to achieve when I started my business. So that's important to always have that perspective on a daily basis, because the ups and downs, I equate running your own business to like being a sports fan. It's an emotional roller coaster. And if you get caught up in the big losses or the blowouts, or just, you know, the terrible days, man, it can really mess with your mind. So again, that's always important. I think about lifestyle at the end of the day. And if I'm as close to that as possible, even if it was shitty at work and my workout, whatever it would be, you know, we're on the right track. So talk to me about this awesome gym you built. Because that's, you know, a part of why we always initially get into this. It's like, how can we subsidize our supplements? How can I expense the cool new training equipment I can get, you know, like give me accountability to stay in shape. So you built out pretty much this is a state-of-the-art, world-class gym. Yeah.
So when we pre-pandemic, you know, we were, you know, a traditional, rather large, but a traditional style circuit, kind of around the room, different equipment type stations. You know, you got your suspension trainers over there, your kettlebells over there, your dumbbells over there, and you'd build the workouts around rotating through the gym, right? Well, that went away in the pandemic. It was like everybody's got to stay in their 6-foot box, right? So as I was looking at renewing the lease, so we had to renew our lease in the middle of this, right? We had to sign a 5-year renewal on our lease, and they jacked up our rate like $1,500 a month on top of that in the middle of all this, right? So talk about like having faith to take an action, which is my tagline. I had this vision of, what if we built, and the way I went and did the measurements, you know, I went 6 feet wide, right? And my gym's pretty big. It's like a good 100 feet long or something like that. It's a big space. The whole thing is 8,400 square feet, which sounds big, but that includes offices and a yoga studio and a kitchen. But the actual gym floor is about 4,000 square feet. That's what really matters. So the way I set it up was I was able to get 24 6-foot wide by 15 feet long boxes or rectangles, right? Basically two sides of the gym with a nice aisle down the middle, right? And I wanted to create, everybody has their own gym inside of my gym, right? So I want to be able to have adjustable power block, power blocks are there, adjustable kettlebell, all the bands you need, battling rope, suspension trainer, a training box, mini bands, sliders, like all the different toys, right? Literally at each station, right? So there's no trading. So one was kind of a pandemic thing, but two, as we were going through the forced pandemic training and going back old school, just body weight and bands, before I had this equipment thing, what very quickly came about was I love training. I love program design. And as you know, from having your own boot camp in the fitness asylum back in the day, having people rotate around stations, you got to factor that time in. And they're generally not fast, especially when they get chatty in the mid-morning classes, right? So you have to build in like 30 seconds, 40 seconds rest at least, right, to get people set up. So you limit your ability in terms of like supersets and trisets and giant sets and kind of like the old school bodybuilding stuff that I really love, right? But that went away because now we're all stuck in one spot. But of course, you're semi-limited. You can do a lot, as you and I both know, with body weight and bands for sure. But when you start adding in all the other toys, it's like, whoa, now I can literally do anything I want, right? So I'm like, okay, I got to contain this now because I need attachment points for a band, a suspension trainer. What's the rope going to go through? How is this all going to organize? So I literally, pen and paper. And then I went to the gym and I mocked it up with literally took a weight plate. I put a barbell through the weight plate. I taped on a broomstick handle, and I made like this whole like contraption of what I call the transformation pole, right? So yes, I have a transformation pole, my friend. And
are you in the gym right now?
No, this is actually my home office.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? I can actually show you because I have one at my house.
Show it for those listening on.
Yeah,
this is exclusive.
So I took this design to just a local metal guy, and I said, "Can you build this for me?" And he had, I mean, this is like your typical like Midwestern big gut old grizzly guy. He had no clue what the hell I was trying to do here, but he built it for me. And we went through a couple of prototypes, and then I realized, okay, well, I'm going to put this in my gym. This guy is really good with metal, but I need something a little more professional, right? So I actually hired a local company, that metalworks company, and they brought in an engineer. Because he's like, you want to cover your ass. Like every weld has to be pristine, has to be measured for, how much force and torque you're going to be putting on this thing. You can't exactly have a 200+ pound woman hanging from the bar and it breaks, right? So, so we designed this thing, and I've got 24 of these in my gym, and then full on stations. You're going to take a little tour of the house here. So we go down the stairs into the dragon's lair.
And what I love about this is, this is part of your DNA, just a refusal.
Yeah.
To quit.
Refuse. Absolutely. So if we go in my gym here, it's a little bit of a shit show right now, but I'm going to put you right here. Because when I do my workouts, this is kind of the setup of what it looks like. So I've got a TV right above you right now, right? That's a monitor where I can see my private Facebook group. I can see all the comments that are coming in. TV over here, which has a timer on the wall for them and me. This sucker right here, it might be hard to see because it's black.
We can see it.
At the gym, they're gray. But we've got this basically this vertical bar. It's very heavy. This sucker weighs a ton. It's very heavy duty. But down below, you got loop for the ropes to go through. Up top, you got your spot for your suspension trainers to hang. Having bands, you got a pole all the way down for all different type of band attachments. You got your pull-up bar, pull-down bar, anything here. You got your Bulgarian split squat, feet elevated, push-ups, hands elevated push-ups. You name it, there's pretty much nothing that can't be done here. Set of adjustable dumbbells, they're over here. You can't see them. I mean, it's the full-on home gym. And then you'll notice Well, no, number one, you'll notice Arnold in the background, of course.
There
Gotta
he
go old
is.
school. But you might notice this. I borrowed this from you, my friend. Can you read that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you can see it. Learn it, own it, crush it. Got that from you back in the day. I'm like, that's going on my wall.
I said that?
Yeah, and then I got the dragonfly. That's our logo over there. Then this over here, this mirror over here, whatnot for the rest of the home
And then
gym.
some old school bodybuilding stuff I see. The safety squat bar.
Yep, you got the yoke bar there. You got the trap bar down there. Then I got the lights around the room. So yeah, this is my home. This is my actual online training studio right here. So yeah, but we have 24 of these, in the back here. Even got places to hold the bands. All the bands are here. Down low, there's place for your handles and your mini bands. And yeah, this is the transformation pole, my friend.
And you built this in the midst of this global shutdown, basically.
Yeah, so we built these. They're about $1,000 a piece. By the time they're done and engineered. I think I paid 20 grand for all 24. I got a deal because I bought 24 of them, 25 of them because I got one from my house. And then I had to get ropes for every station. We had some ropes, but the ropes were pretty shot, so I had to get brand new ropes for every station. I think I had 14 suspend trainers, but I had to go get 10 more. Had to get bands for every station. Had to get adjustable dumbbells. I got commercial grade power blocks. Got a pretty good deal on those, but those suckers ain't cheap.
No.
Boxes all in, we've spent $35,000-$40,000 and renewed our lease in the middle of the pandemic. This was a gutsy move. Probably not the best move for most people, but I've always kind of been a risk taker. So, but that's how I got where I got. It's
Self-belief, man.
We can go in there. We can go into the movie theater. We can want to go in there, but you don't get a movie theater if you don't take chances.
There you go, man. Look, and that's what I find, like, especially now, because when you're younger, you're more motivated to get like, I want to make a name for myself. I never wanted to become famous, but I knew that in my mind that was going to be part of making the money I needed to live the lifestyle. What do we got there?
Your Body's Your Barbell.
Oh yeah, the book by the great Sultan of the Sweat.
10-minute tortures. We got Delta Fit, we got Meta Shred, we got Heartbreak Hotel.
Heart rate
hotel, not heartbreak. Well, I'm sure you broke some hearts in the hotel, my friend.
Exactly. No, dude, that's I'm fired up by that because again, like you got to really love that gym you built because the easier thing to do, because you could have made money doing anything. Like you were making money online. You could have done partnerships, gone back to sales. But you were so
I got invited multiple times to go back to the health club space for large sums of money. And I turned it down because go back to what you said earlier was, and I even told and I actually got the people who were like inviting me. I even said, I said, my lifestyle though. What would you do? And I wouldn't take the job. Like you're offering me the job, but you're telling me not to take the job, right? Between you and me, don't take the job. But you're offering me the job because the lifestyle it was a huge factor. I've definitely given up plenty of money over the years because to me, lifestyle comes first.
Can we just be honest about it too? You're just not the type of cat that likes people telling them what to do, which is why you didn't go into the Air Force.
That's very true.
Okay? It's okay. We need people that take orders too. But you also have to know yourself, be honest with yourself. And again, that's why the 2 years I was at Men's Health just didn't work out because at the end of the day, it's like, oh, I could do this better.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, you're kind of getting in my way. So these are just the lessons you take, and you just got to be honest with yourself. It doesn't make you a bad person, by the way.
Yep.
It just makes you you. So let's before we get into Ozempic, which is probably the most interesting or controversial thing we'll talk about today. All the people you've worked with, what are your top 3 to 5 transformation tips? I mean, that's kind of it's a loaded question that could be its own podcast, but like quick bullets, like all the people you've seen, the people that have succeeded, the people that haven't, what have been the 3 to 5 things that have been really the key difference makers?
Yeah. I mean, number one, mindset matters most. I mean, that's it. That's why we've gone so hard into mindset training certifications for ourselves, studies, writing about it, teaching about it, doing seminars about it with our clients. The whole reason we have the Transformation Show podcast, really the majority of the episodes, probably 85% of the episodes are mindset based. So mindset matters most. It would be my top one. And then I knew you were going to ask this question. So I have like a 4-step thing that I put together a while back. It's really simple, right? So number one, you can't transform a body you hate. You just can't.
That's a good
right?
one.
Not long-term, right? Yeah, you might lose weight, but you're going to gain it back. You just simply can't transform a body that you hate. And actually, if we wanted to go really deep, there's a lot of mindset attached to that. And then we can get into the hormonal effect and the gut health effect that happens when you think about that. So like when you hate your body, there's actually a hormonal cascade and a gut health dysfunction that occurs, which can prevent you from getting results. But that's a whole nother topic. So number one, you can't transform a body you hate. Number two, trust the process, right? This is a huge one. You know, you go back to bodybuilding and working out and sets and reps and writing a program, just like you go back to, okay, this is how many clients I need to get. This is my closing percentage. This is how many people I have to talk to today, to, you know, building out a business. Like there's a process. If you follow a proven process, you got to have a little bit of trust, a lot of trust in the process, because most results don't come in a linear fashion. There's usually a hockey stick effect. And when it comes to like weight loss and body transformation, it's very up and down. You might lose 3, 4, 5 pounds in the first week and then gain 2 pounds the next week and then lose a couple of pounds. And it's all over the freaking board, right? So you've got to just trust the process. Obviously buy into a good process, but trust the process. So that's number two. Number three is progress, not perfection. That's my wife's favorite saying. It's the cover of our first journal that we created. It's one of our sayings, but yeah, you got to focus on progress, not perfection, because you're just never going to get anywhere. Perfectionism and procrastination are both mindset issues. We do a lot of discussions around those and why people are perfectionists and why they are procrastinators. It all comes back to fear, is really what it actually comes back to. So you got to focus on progress, not perfection. And the last one is just chill the fuck out. You got to give life a chance to co-respond. So life will co-respond to you. So just think of it as stimulus response. Right. So if I stimulate the muscle, I can be like, well, why aren't you growing? Right. We got to give the process a chance. We got to let life co-respond. Right. So we put something out, life will co-respond to us, and it kind of meets us halfway, whether that's trying to stimulate muscle growth or lose fat or build a business or, you know, have a great relationship. Right. You got to do your part. You know, the more religious folk might say, let go and let God. It's the same thing as like chill out and give life a chance to co-respond. So those would be my 5.
Really, I mean, dude, that's a phenomenal. Again, I can tell you're a sales guy, because you can't make it a book. I know you made it a book, but you also have to have an elevator speech version of it. Yeah. And a couple of things to unpack there too. As someone, my biggest hindrance is it's part of why there's such a precision to my programming, but perfectionism it's dogged me my whole life, and it can destroy you.
Yep.
Mainly because in some sort of sick way, it actually leads to procrastination, because you're not willing to put anything out. You're constantly working behind the scenes and nothing's getting out.
Yeah. Can I give an example of that turned out to be amazing for us? And you probably have stuff like this too. So perfectionism does lead to procrastination. Both of them are basically forms of fear of not being good enough. At the end of the day, when you start to just peel the onion away, most people have some level of I'm not good enough. Right? Some have extreme levels. It's their core programming. It's what drives their programming every day. For other people, it's just a little bit, right? But it's all there. We all have a little piece of not being good enough. So one of the places where I really learned this really well early on in our business, when I finally sold Janelle, my wife, on coming on board to quit her job, which at the time was pretty scary, to come and work with me. The way I convinced her, of course, is I said that, you know, we get a dog and he can come to work with us. And, you know, there's one guy right there.
Yes.
There's the other guy right there. They're never too far away. So she came to me. We're at a coffee shop at the time on a break from work. And she comes to me. This is literally one of those napkin ideas. And she comes to me with this idea for, you know, this is when detoxes were becoming popular. This is 2011. And most of them were just crap, right? Not taking into account actually like healthy eating, right? What detox is actually, it's really more of like, the way we approach it is it's more of like an anti-inflammatory diet, right? It's an elimination. Let's remove the inflammatory foods and let's put in some good nutrition. So she comes to me with this idea for a 21-day reset. right? Because she's looking at the gut, this 21-day process to the gut. And this is all her, she's the brains of all this. And she's like, what do you think if I put together this 21-day course? And here's kind of what it would look like. I'm like, that's a great idea. I'm going to send an email out. We're going to do it. So we had no program. And so this is me now understanding the process, right? So I had 150 people signed up for the program before we had a program. Now I've done stuff like this since then, but it was a great lesson because Janelle was like kind of freaked out. Like, so why don't we have a program? I'm like, well, you'll get one that's good enough. It'll be the start. It'll be the foundation, and we'll make it better and better and better. And the first program was like a 13-page, Google document. There wasn't a whole lot to it. We held a live seminar, where she explained everything, and then she had a coaching group in Facebook where and then we had like email daily tips, yada yada yada, and we charged $21 for it. Right? So what was that, $3,000? Like that, right? And we had so many people who were so interested that missed that one that like a month or two later, we filled another one with another 100+ people, right? And that one got a little bit better. And it got a little bit better. And each time we did it, we were doing like 2-3 times a year now. It got a little bit better. And then we did a partnership back in the day with Sam Bakhtiar, where we went out to his clubs out in California, and we toured California and did a bunch of, met with 1,000 people, literally 1,000 people did the program out there. Over the course of 10 years, this $21 program has produced 6 figures. How? By being willing to put out the base product and then making it a little bit better, and not being perfect. Because if we waited for perfect, that program probably still wouldn't be out. Even though now there's professionally shot videos and it's broken down into segments and it's got graphics, and there's still plenty of other things we would do to make it even better. Right. But if you're locked into making it perfect before you get it out, we would have missed out on a decade of production of this program and all the things it has led us to, on top of that. So you can count the $100,000+ we made just on the program, but what else has that veered us into, and the relationships that we've built and the opportunities that have come our way. That's what happens when you just, what I call, have faith and take action versus procrastinating because it's got to be perfect. Right, because you're afraid someone might judge it. Well, I mean, get a refund.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the best example. Something we all can relate to, unless you have an Android. Every iPhone you buy is a paid experimentation for the next version. So be okay with it. Again, you do the best you can, and especially if it's early stages and it's it's an introductory price. And you can fill in the gaps with personal attention, with, being receptive to feedback. And again, you're going to learn so much about what to add to the 2.0 version of this. So,
look at the evolution of the Daily BJ.
Oh my God.
Right. I've been with it since the beginning.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I just look at, like, back in the day, you got Naomi holding the phone in your garage, right? Or whatever it was. And, it was raw.
The sun just is like scorching me. You barely see my face on the left side.
So it just,
terrible audio.
It didn't matter, right? Because it was the quality was in the programming and the product and the personality, right? Well, with Janelle's Detox, the quality was in the programming and the information and the personality. And then eventually it got more polished over time. And it's still not perfect.
And you know what? That's the next part. The fifth thing you said. I'd almost call it just sometimes you try too hard. And what that does is that adds such an additional unneeded amount of stress to the process, and it squeezes out all the joy and all the fun in the small wins. And that's happened to me a lot since I've left Men's Health. Frankly, I've tried so hard to try to emulate certain things like it did when I was there, whatever. And I totally lost sight of what it was that originally got me in that position in the first place.
Yeah.
It was me. It wasn't my production quality or the camera I was using, or, again, these are all the things you get away from when perfectionism starts to penetrate the process. So again, these are just some great lessons. We can go on, but I want to parlay that into Ozempic. Okay. Everyone listening has heard about it. Everyone listening is curious about it. All the celebs are taking it, which makes me just want to vomit because I hate celebs. I just hate just the whole, they don't most of them, they don't need it, right? Number one, you can afford
the best trainers and the best dietitians, although most celebrity trainers are complete jackass. But I mean, have you seen some of these celebrity workouts in like Men's Health magazine or Vanity Fair?
Men's Health.
It's ridiculous.
You get the cover models workout and you start to look at it. And first of all, it's never theirs. We have to modify it because they don't have all the equipment. But keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, just here's a perfect example. Janelle told me the story, so I don't know the exact origin. It's not a client's daughter, but a friend of a client's daughter, because they came to us, who, went to college and gained the freshman 15, maybe 20 pounds. Doctor put her on Ozempic. How about you just drink a little less, right? Like, so this, she's not a 400-pound woman who's like, just give me some momentum, right? This is like a young college girl who put on the freshman 15, 20 pounds. And like, they're going to hand this shit out like Ritalin. And that's the thing that freaks me out the most, right? Is nobody's looking at, well, what does your exercise look like? What does your nutrition look like? Are you willing to do those things? Because if you're not willing to do those things, I'm not just going to hand this out to you. It's like, hey, let's give our kids, sugar cereal for breakfast, and then we got to call them. Now they have ADD, so we got to put them on Ritalin, right? It's the same concept. It's like you're following the standard American diet, yet you got to go on Ozempic, right? This isn't an Ozempic thing. This is a mindset thing, right? So, I don't know where you want to go with this direction, but I've got my concerns, and I do have someone who I care a lot about, who is using it and who's had great success with it. I am concerned about the long-term impact because we don't know, and in our country, we tend to do that with pharmaceuticals. Well, pharmaceutical companies kind of get to do what they want. They make a big mistake, they pay some money out, and they move on, right? I mean, let's not get into the whole, the most recent, thing with the pharmaceutical industry. We won't have to go there, but like if we stick with the diet trend, like. I remember back in the day, I don't know if you might be too young for this, but do you remember Fen-Phen?
Yeah.
That was all the rage until it started killing people, right? Like, this isn't the first time we've seen the wonder drug in the weight loss, industry. And I just, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but I don't trust what the pharmaceutical companies have to say about their own product. I just use certain logic, right? So let's start there. So when I look at it, I'm not going to get deep into the science. My wife knows all the science of it and how it works. I look at it without even needing to know anything. I always look at things from a logical standpoint. So if the goal of this thing is to get you ultimately to eat less, like, let's forget about what it does metabolically and all that kind of stuff. If you eat less, right? So now you've got people who are essentially starving themselves, but they're not hungry. So that's why if you actually do go to the research, most of the weight loss is actually muscle tissue and water. So just like any starvation diet, 800 to 1200 calorie diet that we've had to fight against in the fitness industry for the last, my whole 30 years, what do they do with a typical woman who wants to lose weight? 1200 calories. They all go on 1200 calories, right? Why? Because we know that is, like, number one, it's the lowest safe number without any medical supervision that we can put somebody on. At least that's the way it used to be. I don't know if it's different now. So if we put somebody on one of these starvation diets, because 1200 calories is definitely starvation, especially if you're exercising, right? What's going to happen? You're going to lose weight. I mean, it's math, right? You're going to lose weight. But the problem is people are so focused on the scale, and yes, their clothes are getting smaller, but what they're not focused on is how much muscle they're losing, how they're slowing their metabolism down, how they're jacking up their hormones, how their gut's all fucked up. Like, they're not paying attention to any of that stuff. So for me, Ozempic, how is it really any different? At the end of the day, it's getting you to eat less. Let's forget about any of the metabolic stuff that it might do. Ultimately, you're getting someone who's eating like an asshole to not eat, right? It's funny, my partner in Nutrition OS, Dr. Mike Russell, it's so funny because he breaks down nutrition really simple. If you're obese and you want to lose weight, don't eat like an asshole. Like, that's coming from the PhD. It's really that simple, right? That's where it starts. Now, if you want to get in BJ shape, well, it's going to take a little bit more than that. Now you might be getting into carb cycling and meal timing and all the fancy shit that people want to talk about, intermittent fasting and, right, glycogen, storage, and how do I, replenish and, super compensate, all these bodybuilding terms. It don't matter when you're freaking 100 pounds overweight. When BJ's trying to get photo shoot ready, it does, right? At this level, don't eat like an asshole and you'll lose weight. At this level, we got to fine tune some things. It's really that simple.
It is, man. Again, so here's my take on it. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, because what I want to do is I want to give my take on it, and then I want to give a couple case studies in terms of how I look at it. Because again, I'm not a big science guy. The thing is, all those researches, it's great, but I already know. Like, I know through practical experience and just that type of thing what this is all about. As being someone who grew up overweight and has helped many people overcome that over the years. But ultimately knowing too that there's just some people you can't help. This all relates to it. So my initial, what it does, right? So it's really blunting appetite, and it's helping you with blood sugar management or glucose metabolism, all right? Yep. The sugar in your body, which, probably is a problem for you if you have a lot of central fat. All right.
And you're eating a lot of processed sugar, which don't eat processed sugar. It's all the problem.
It's hand in hand. The only thing that helps you with that is regular movement. Let's not even call it exercise. It's just regular movement. Like if you were gardening all day, that's not exercise, but you would not have a blood sugar problem.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. So anyway, my initial take, and it's kind of like the young person that's still trapped inside this old 41-year-old body, is this is everything I fucking hate about the fitness industry, because it's all about scams and gimmicks and pills and quick fixes. And there is no physical culture or education in this country. Mm-hmm. So the other piece of me is like, this is the answer. This is the answer. And it's why I don't even program weight loss anymore, because it totally gets us away from weight loss is a loser's mindset. And again, what I mean by that is all you're trying to do is eliminate things on your body. There's nothing additive, and people don't realize what that does to your psychology. When you approach it from the other end of the spectrum, I'm trying to increase my mobility and joint range of motion. I'm trying to get out of pain. The classic, I want to play with my kids. I want to be able to hike and not get winded or be so sore the next day I can't enjoy my vacation. I don't want to hate the way I look in the mirror. And again, not that it has to be about the superficial piece, but it's all connected. Or I want to achieve something great. I've never done a push-up before, or I've never been able to hang on a bar. I always failed the physical fitness test in gym class. That still haunts me to this day. The gain side of it, right? The gain side of it puts you on a winner's mentality, because if you're focusing on adding to your body, adding to your quality of life, part of that naturally is going to happen. You're going to lose body fat. But if you're just going all in on weight loss, first of all, you'll be stuck in it forever. The perpetual cycle of every January, it's about to happen again. And we're all going to get, we got to salespeople go to the gym. Great, awesome. I guess so these posts, my New Year resolutions in February, they're gone. So that's a big piece of it too. Now, it's the solution because we have not done a good job. People think exercise is what I do to look this way.
Right.
Surely it is. But if they really knew what I did today, it's a daily walk. It's every hour on the hour. I do at least a minute of mobility, either hanging on my pull-up bar, which is right there. This is my gym space. Again, so I've set things up. And that's part of the thing too. I have to be like, I've got wisdom now. Like, I've created this whole lifestyle of built-in support and accountability. I've got a private sauna to the left of me. I have a hot tub and a pool to the right of me. I have a built-in gym and film studio, so I can do all my work from home and save time on travel and avoiding people. So look, and I don't have kids. So where I go to that is one of my wife's best friend, a busy single mom, not a lazy person at all. She actually it runs essentially TED Talks and education for the New York NYU healthcare system. Okay. All day, busy single mom, hates exercise. And she took Ozempic, lost 70 pounds. But here's what's interesting. Okay. Her doctor literally told her, I don't know how to tell you this, but everything you put in your mouth just turns into fat. And there are people like this. And this is what I'm talking about with the tipping point. If you have a metabolism that is body fat based, meaning, and I think the tipping point is probably 50%. When you're getting around 50% body fat, it takes over your metabolism. Then I don't think the regular laws of thermodynamics apply to you. A healthy metabolism, it is calories in, calories out. Absolutely. But there are some people that get to that tipping point where they have so much accumulated body fat and they have such poor blood sugar management and their hormones are so out of whack that without a medical intervention or a true shock to the system, like, you got to dedicate your life to this. You got to go to the Biggest Loser. And even then, will you continue? No, they never do. So she lost the weight. But what was interesting about it was she said, I don't want to take this for granted. She started walking. She started stretching. So again, if you're going to use it as something to jumpstart you when you get a medical perspective, and again, someone that had battled her weight for decades at that point, just turned 40, busy single mom, stressed out, has a thyroid problem. Again, a lot of things to add on to that. It legitimately seemed like the only answer for her, but now she's walking. She asked me for some exercise tips. We'll see where it goes. But again, I think part of it too is, and the other piece of it too is I knew someone. I worked with someone who had a videographer, and this dude had to be about 50% body fat, and I saw the way he ate, and protein and produce, but he was having hot chicken. Again, it was lightly breaded, but again, it's like, bro, like you like I can fuck with hot chicken because I've gotten to the point now where I'm so good all other times, and I've put years onto this, and I built a metabolism that is mostly muscle mass, so it works. It's like the rich get richer and the poor get poorer with this. The fat get fatter, and the more muscular get, or the leaner get more leaner, and that's a big part of this too. And then you're like, are they lying to me? Because they would be telling me they're doing these workouts, and again, I know I'm a coach, so when someone who is 50% body fat, who I know can't do a single push-up, tells me they're doing 20, it's like, okay, well, so that's a big part of it too. There's can we trust people? And I know you've dealt with this a lot too. People say, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You got to give people the benefit of the doubt at the same time too. He is 50% body fat, and this individual too did a marathon. That was the one time he lost a lot of weight, and he lost all his muscle mass in the process. Starved himself, straight cardio, the classic thing that people encounter. But honestly, when I think about this individual, his only answer is Ozempic, because if I take him at his word, he's tried everything and he just keeps gaining weight. And technically, there are leaner, thinner people that probably eat better than he does. Like I eat him off the table every time we ate together. You see what I'm saying? So there are some people that I think it possibly right now is the only way, knowing how fucked up our food supply is. Knowing, like, dude, I go every week, we get this pizza. It's the best thin crust pizza in Palm Springs. Shout out to Stuffed Pizza, STUFT. But they're trying to play Uncle Baby Biscuits because the pizza is smaller, bro. I'm paying the same price. And my wife was telling me it's called shrinkflation. We all know about inflation.
Oh, yeah.
The cost of healthy food it's crazy. Now the upper middle class can't even afford healthy food. And maybe the rich still can, but who knows how long that's going to last. But now they're shrinking food and charging the same price. If you check out McDonald's, man, things are half the size they were when I was growing up.
Really?
They're shrinking because they're not telling us, and they're shrinking the food and they're charging us the same price. So when you know all that, and you know that, like, how many mistakes, we've been in this so long, all the mistakes we had to make, but we were willing to do that because that's the journey of this, right? That's the journey of empowerment and ownership. I don't need anyone's advice or help because I've done it myself. I've made the mistakes, and now I own it. And people aren't going to do that. So it is going to have to be a pill. And it actually blows my mind that they haven't figured it out yet to this point. So I guess they finally have. We don't know the long term as much, but now all the generic drugs are coming out too. So again, that's my kind of hot take on it. Unfortunately, in America, just knowing this population, it's probably the only answer moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because I see, and you've had experience with it, as you mentioned. I've had some experience with people, like it's been the kickstart to a healthy lifestyle, but those are people who actually wanted a healthier lifestyle and they use this as their kickstart.
Sure.
Right? I think that if it with the masses though, masses just want to be lazy, pop a pill, eat whatever they want. Right. And that's the problem. If they put just as much, they put the billions of dollars into researching a weight loss drug, into actually educating people about food and mindset. And why do I make these decisions? Why do I use food as a crutch? What is the limiting beliefs inside of me? What are the fears inside of me that make me reach for food? What hole am I trying to fill, or what emotions am I trying to stuff down? Like, that's where we've actually had so much success. Janelle is a true professional at this, a wizard with her clients, is she's getting to the core program of somebody and what are we trying to stuff down? what do we actually need to release? What are the emotions that we need to, what are the traumas that we've been through that we're trying to stuff down with food, or the current, negative situations or interpretations of the situations that we're trying to mask with food, whether it's food or alcohol or porn or Netflix or what addictive behavior. That's all it really comes down to, is the American culture is addicted to food. And the reality is
they're addicted to dopamine.
Yeah, but it's programmed in the food you manufacture. It's and this is where you get the conspiracy theories, right? You got big food putting sugar and everything, and making you putting. I mean, they have food scientists to figure out textures and flavors and chemicals to get you addicted to the food, which then requires you to take the drugs
with big pharma.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful relationship.
Yep.
Right, but that's a whole nother concept. We can get into. So it's like, we're not going to solve big food and big pharma here. But what I want listeners, I want people who are struggling to, I don't like the whole wake up or stop being a sheep or any of that negative stuff. It's just have a look at the system as a whole, and there's a system as a whole serving your best interest. Right? No, it's definitely not. Right. So if we know that, well, then what can I do? What professionals can I seek out? The BJ GADDOURs, the Justin Yules, the Janelle Yules, right? The people who can provide me support that I'm not going to get elsewhere. And that's why, like what you do is so important. What we do is so important for the people who are willing to go, okay, the system's failed me, and I'm ready to take action. So,
and again, ultimately, like, this is a gift to be here, right? Who the fuck do you want to be?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be?
Yeah, and you don't have to be shredded. But that's the thing. I mean, like Janelle says this all the time. I'd rather be 10, 15 pounds overweight and feel great and live my life and have some treats here and there. And like, for me, like me and Janelle both very genetically the same. Like, I've had abs. I've been on stage. I know what it takes to get those last like 10 pounds off. And I don't want to on a regular basis, right? Because I have other goals and missions in my life that I'm working towards. And I know like there's only so many hours in the day. I eat incredibly clean 95% of the time. Do I go hog wild over the holiday weekend? Yeah, but I still go in gluten-free, low sugar. It's still hog wild, but it's hog wild on what most people go like, that's a healthy diet. Well, yeah, I don't eat like an asshole, as Dr. Mike would say. But like, I'll do my stuff throughout the year. So I eat incredibly healthy. I work out extremely regularly, like just like yourself, right? To get to that next level, like right now, I got about 9 pounds of excess fat on my body, according to the InBody. I've had that sucker at 0. I know what it takes. I need about 5,000 more steps per day from what I'm getting right now, right? And maybe I got to clean my nutrition up a couple percentage points. But honestly, it's probably if I just got the extra 5,000 steps a day, based on my experience, I'd probably shed those extra 9 pounds. But right now, I got some pretty cool, things I'm working on and goals I'm working towards. I'm behind the scenes doing a project with you right now. It takes up some of those hours. Am I making excuses? No, I'm making a choice. But that's different than if I was 50 pounds overweight. Like, go find the extra time to put the 5,000 steps in per day, right?
Well, the thing is, you can't do what you do 50 pounds overweight because
that's true.
It's literally a drag on your economy.
Yeah, and I'm in the gym. I'm in that home gym 7 days a week. I'm not lifting 7 days a week. Obviously, could be I could just be doing foam rolling mobility, but I'm in that gym 7 days a week, right? Every morning, 6 a.m. Weekdays, and actually I'm in there 5 a.m. weekdays. So I roll and stretch for about 45 minutes before I actually go in my live online workout at 6, because 48 years old, I need to do some rolling and stretching before I start squatting and deadlifting.
By the way, you should be doing that in your 20s.
Yeah, no doubt. I wish I was doing it. I wish I was doing it in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, same here, bro. And again, that's part of, that gets to the whole journey of this too. It's like, so if we actually had a culture where people were growing up and they learned how to use their bodies, this would be much less of a problem.
Have you seen some of those physical education classes, like videos in the black and white from like the 50s, 60s, 70s? These guys were badasses on the monkey bars and it was part of the culture.
It was fun. It was play. It was game based. It was competitive. And yeah, certainly it was also natural selection.
Yes. I mean, it was definitely for a military structure complex.
Oh, sure.
Getting people ready to go to war. But that's kind of what happens is like if you know the cycle, right? It's like what do they say? Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, right? That's the cycle. And if you actually look at history, I mean, every major civilization from the Romans to the Greeks every major civilization has gone through that cycle, and they all get wiped out because eventually these really hard times create really strong men and women, and they ultimately create the culture and the prosperity, and they create the good times. And in the good times, that next several generations become fat and lazy. And then another group of hard asses come in and wipe them out. Right. And there's a lot of theory right now that we're in the stage in America. We've been living the good life since the 80s. Right. And we're becoming very weak. And I'm not going after a younger generation. I'm a hardcore Gen X guy. Right. But like you start getting to these younger generations, they're becoming, and not to say all or categorize any generation. So I don't want to offend any Gen Zers or Ys. I don't even know what the hell all the letters are.
You've already offended.
Right. Probably have, because they get offended so easily. Because, right. So it's like, that's the concern is if we don't make a shift, what's the big hard ass culture, Russia, China, whoever, that's going to come in and wipe us out?
And what a segue to AI.
There you go. AI.
There's no one harder than a robot. This is like
right.
Ivan Drago. This is Ivan Drago into,
this is the Terminator, software. Baby. The Terminator.
This is the Terminator. So we're living in this age now. And, I did a podcast, just a quick recap on it. Essentially, I typed into ChatGPT, please make me a BJ GADDOUR inspired workout using Tabata intervals and make it 4 minutes total. And in a second, it spit out something that would be for 99.9% of fit pros, and then 99.9% of the fitness consumer that would receive it, something that they would see as a good workout, something that they could do to have value. And even if it wasn't as good as mine, I can't make a workout in a second.
Right.
So what we're dealing with this automation, and again, it's so early. And I just saw an article recently about the big scare with OpenAI was that for the first time they saw the software could actually, everything up until this point, it's been like binary, 0 or 1, true or false, right? But they were able to solve some math problems, which means that there's just something happening where now there is a advancement of the intelligence where, again, they can, at some point down the road, they could see, oh, humans are a threat. This is what the movies you've been watching for 30 years. And the great thing about cinema is obviously you get these visionaries that end up predicting. It isn't exactly what we see, right?
Star Trek.
There you go. They predict the future, and it doesn't exactly come out as predicted, but in some ways it's like, wow, this is like not too far off. So I wanted to talk because you started using AI with how you help trainers in making content and helping their business. But what are your thoughts, and how is this going to impact fitness moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know what to say about in terms of Skynet or anything like that. But what's going to happen there? But in terms of the fitness industry or just business in general, well, there's a few different aspects depending on how deep we want to go with this. The place I'm using it really primarily right now is content, which is an area that a lot of professionals struggle with. Is how do I get what I want to say out of my brain, right? How do I put it into words? What is my core message, right? Like right now, the way I use it is I can get it to within a matter of seconds. I just did this for the project we're working on, right? To kind of, here's the product and here's the general person we think we're going to be targeting. And based on a series of prompts, I can do market research within minutes and really understand the target audience for a product or for a program. And then with that information about the target audience, I can then create core messaging that aligns with me and speaks to that target audience so that I'm connecting with that person. And then I can create content, whether that's social media content, articles, blog posts, newsletters, actual landing pages, ebooks, what have you, that speaks to the target audience, in a way that is still true to me and my, what we call a personal communication guide or writing style guide, but connects with them so that I can, because at the end of the day, you mentioned this earlier, I think in the conversation, like if you go back to sales and you go back to fitness, like it doesn't matter. And I used to tell my people all this, it doesn't matter how good of a trainer you are if nobody knows that you train. Yeah. Right? It doesn't matter how good, the Daily BJ is if nobody knows it exists. So you have to create a platform, and you can do that by being an influencer, right? But not everybody wants to be an influencer in the way where they're going to have their shirt off on camera and that's not who they are, right? But they can do it with content. They can do it with education. They can put out quality content that resonates with people. I can teach you how to write a book this weekend, right? With AI, right? That's in your voice and is conveying your message. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do from that standpoint. So I love it from a marketing standpoint. I love it from a market research standpoint, a communication standpoint. I got a call later today with a buddy from a health club chain who wants to teach his trainers how to niche, because they don't do that in health clubs, right? You're training grandma 1 minute, businessman the next, stay-at-home mom the next, kid that you're just every hour you're training someone completely different. You're a total generalist, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does suck the joy out of training for most trainers, right? Because most trainers, there's a certain niche that they really enjoy training the most. If they could fill their whole schedule with that, they would not only make more money, but they would be in a lot more joy, right? And in the health clubs, they don't teach that. And he knows that I specialize in that. So we have a conversation later today, because I might do some consulting work with them to teach them how to actually do this. And I'm going to teach them how to do it with AI, because you can do it in mass very, very quickly. So that's a big piece of it. That I like right now is the copywriting, the marketing, communication. You can definitely do programming, as you mentioned. A colleague of mine made a comment on social media, kind of poo-pooing, ChatGPT or just AI in general. And just so everybody knows, most AI softwares actually run through ChatGPT. That's what's happening on the back end for the most part. But because you just have to write a program, and you were curious about yourself, but you said, in the style of BJ GADDOUR, write me a 20-minute metabolic training workout. So you were very specific in what you were asking for. You didn't just say, write me a program for a 45-year-old man who wants to lose weight. Like you're gonna get crap if you do that. So number one, you need to know how to talk to it, but you can feed it content. Now it knows who BJ GADDOUR is, right? Because of what you've built over the years, right? It doesn't know who Justin Yule is, right? So I would have to teach it my training style, right? So if you feed it with content, I said to this guy's name was Andy. I said, Andy, well, just imagine though, if you actually fed, pardon me for a second, FedEx guys, perfect timing.
But you got to get those shipments, man. You got to get those shipments.
Oh man, God. So I said, Andy, what if you could actually teach it your philosophy on training, and then it would spit programs out as if you wrote them? He's like, that's a good point, because you can feed it your content.
Well, this is the whole thing too. And again, fitness has always been funny to me because, we're like, for example, my father's from Tunisia. And anytime we visited North Africa, for those listening, they'd be playing like music that was hot in America 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And fitness is like that too. Like people weren't selling fitness DVDs until like Beachbody really didn't hit until the 2000s. And DVDs had been killing in the 90s, right? So we're always late to the game. Streaming. I came out with the first streaming fitness platform in 2011, Stream Fit. We'll talk more about that later too. But part of the reason it didn't work out is people were still so stuck on DVDs because fitness is always so slow. So we just saw, and the writer and actor strikes, right? The big piece of that was like, they're making movies now, and they're pulling old footage of someone's work, and then AI is making them present in the film, and they're not getting compensated. So that was a big piece of it. And for someone like me that has had, I've got thousands of images, thousands of videos, a lot of the stuff I made for Men's Health too. Like we did a bunch of GIFs. I see people now, they make posts and they use those GIFs. Now I don't own them, Men's Health does, but they can't use those. They continue to do so, but that's copyright infringement. So seeing how they were able to, again, because part of the problem is they have my style is kind of out there. They don't have this. but they have output. And if they're looking at all these videos, all these workouts, all these articles, technically it's probably going to put out something quite similar. And then, 3 to 5 years from now, why wouldn't they be able to digitize my face and my body?
Yeah. Well, first of all,
that leave me, bro, because I don't see people sending me a check in the mail.
Yeah, so obviously there's going to be a lot to figure out with the whole copyright infringement. You bring up the thing with the actors getting put in movies that they weren't actually in, and there's a lot of hubbub about that. So they're going to have to figure all that kind of stuff out. But earlier today, I actually, so in one of our sales funnels, Janelle, one of her specialties is hormones, right? So there's a hormone guide that we have. It's called Hormone Harmony. It's an ebook, just a very basic, introduction to how hormones impact your harmony. And on the back end, we're trying to do ultimately, like newsflash, trying to make some money, is we are selling a hormone test, right? Like, hey, get your hormones tested, let Janelle interpret those, and let's see how she can prescribe nutrition and exercise and stress management, all that for you, right? So on that page is a video of Janelle, 2 minutes long, thanking them for downloading the ebook and, essentially educating and pitching on the hormone test. Well, newsflash, it ain't Janelle, it's AI. Because it's really hard to get Janelle to get the hair done, get the makeup done, sit her down, find a time in her schedule where she can go and record a bunch of videos for me, right? So now I don't do that anymore because I have the seed content from a 2-minute video that she recorded that I can now turn into anything I want. Of course, I have her permission because we have to sign off on a thing. I can make her say anything I want. I can make a video, right? So I can literally type in the script, or she can voice over. Voiceover is a little bit more natural, or I can type in the script, and it will adjust the video, adjust her mouth, adjust her movements. You think it's her. So how does that impact, if you go back to your original question with fitness? Well, you can produce a shitload of content now, right? Because especially becoming, the influencer that you've become with hundreds of thousands of followers, you get that by producing tons of great content. And as you know, it takes a lot of time. In your case, it beats the hell out of your body, right? And it's also money, right? Whether it's production costs or time, right? So now you actually have the ability, at least from a talking head standpoint, it's not quite in the exercise standpoint yet, but from a talking head standpoint, we're getting this dialed in now where I'll be producing most of her content in 2024, all approved by her, right? But I can use AI to splinter out an ebook into a whole, here's the next 30 days of posts based off of this feeder content, which is an ebook that I actually wrote that she approved using her information, because I can teach ChatGPT about Janelle and her philosophies and her personality and everything. And with that information, I can actually create a book, get her to read it, approve it, and anything. I've written a couple of books for her already, and she's changed like a couple of lines, literally, right? That's it. And then I can take that ebook and I can splinter that out into social media content for posts and reels. And I can either use her talking head AI for the reel, or I can just go to an AI site that doesn't have her image, but does a bunch of B-roll based on the words that are being spoken. So the reason I'm so passionate about this for my fitness entrepreneurs that I work with, and I'm hosting a 2-day workshop teaching people how to do all of this here in a couple of weeks, because if you're not putting out consistent content, 2024, 2025, you're going to fall behind. So you got two choices. I mean, hey, I tell all my entrepreneurs, look, you want to build a local business or even an online business. You want to do it on the cheap, you join the Chamber of Commerce, you go to every damn meeting and you meet every single person possible. You join a BNI, you join a local men's group or women's group, and you have coffee with somebody, at least one person every single day. And you can build a business. That's how I did it in the beginning, on the cheap. But today, especially the younger crowd, they don't want to do that. They don't want to. Funny thing is, they don't want to go meet the humans to train the humans. I always tell them, I said, your online clients are still humans living in the real world. So go meet them out in the real world and then train them online, right? They've got this idea that if I'm going to build an online business, I can only do it online. Okay, fine. Then you better be a content king or queen. Oh, I don't know what to write about. I can't do that. That's too hard. Well, figure it out, baby. Or Uncle Baby Biscuits is going to be producing content 10
Look, man,
and you can't keep up.
Those listening, I'm gonna eat you up and I'm gonna spit you out. I've got 1,000 videos done waiting to get uploaded to YouTube. Now, in the early part of my career, I'd wake up in a panic with like anxiety up here in my face, in my throat, pain in my stomach. Like I got to make something quick to post.
Yeah.
So I used to live like that. That's how most people are going to be when they start, because they don't have a proven content flow or system or creation process. And they certainly aren't 3, 6, 12 months ahead of the process. You got to be like a fucking movie. The movie's done a year ago before it's launched. And then the hard work comes, marketing the content. And that's something that no trainers do. Myself, I've been guilty of it over the years, where I spend so much time in filming, programming, editing, uploading, getting it out there, that by the time I have to now sell it and convince people to do it, which I'm not passionate about, because it's like, it's great. Do I have to convince you of it? Yeah, you do. That's part of why I'm excited to partner with you and Pat on this project we've been working on for trainers, because again, it's always key to you build a team. All right, MJ is going to close the game. Scotty's going to guard the best player in another team, and Dennis Rodman's just going to physically abuse anyone in his path and frustrate people, right? And then Steve Kerr is going to hit that three when you need him to, right? So again, you complementary pieces, and when you want to do this on your own, that's not possible, right? Part of the reason you and I have had success is we've been lucky enough to find truly our better halves.
Yeah,
that helped us along the way, filled in all of our weaknesses and our gaps. And even if but there are limits to a 2-person team. I've got someone in Romania that helps me with video edits. I've got someone in the Philippines that helps me with images. So again, there's so much that goes into it. And that's part of why I'm like, because there's the deep fake aspect of this too. There might be a competitor that's like, you know what, let's make a deep fake of BJ saying he hates insert ethnic group. And It goes all over, and I'm done. They'll cancel me in a second, even when I get out my video like that's not me, and they study it. Ultimately, 50% of people would have believed the original slander.
That is the scary part of it all.
That is the scary part. The other piece of it too, though, is if ultimately they're forced into giving royalties, you could say, well, the most prolific content creator is going to win. Mm-hmm. Because you get the most videos out there, and they've identified this person as a likeness that targets potentially the biggest demographics or whatever else. So are
you aware? Sorry to cut you off. Are you aware that there are now AI influencers making 6 figures a year? They're not real people. Yeah, they're not real people. They're AI avatars, video. There are literally AI influencers now that are making bank, and they're not real. And people are following them. They're liking their content. They're getting ad revenue. They're selling shit, and they're not real. Like that's where it's going. So like if you really wanted to, like let's say you're afraid of being in front of the camera, or you're just not that, but you're great behind the scenes. You can build yourself, a personality-based business on a made-up personality. So like here's the cool side. There's no more excuses. Right. And if you continue to make excuses, you are going to really get left behind like never before, especially if you're trying to be the online trainer. Because look, you're competing with the big names, right? Like you're competing with Peloton, right? You're still competing with Tony Horton. You're competing with, go ahead.
Fuck Peloton.
Oh, 100%.
I try to say that at least every other podcast.
100%. I'm so glad their stock went to the shit. But like, that's what people don't understand is like, that's what you're competing against. And now you're Joe Blow online trainer who's got like, 870 friends on Facebook, and most of them, you don't even know who the hell, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got 300 people on your newsletter list, and you're like, I want to build an online business, but I don't want to go to the Chamber of Commerce. I don't want to go to the BNI meetings. I don't want to go to the men's group or the women's group. I don't want to go meet humans in the human world, even though the people online are human, right? Well, then you better get good at AI to get your stuff out there, because you're competing against people who spend $50,000 a day to make back 60 or 70, right? And you got people with engineer brains running ads, right? And you're like, well, you're trying to spend $10 a day on your freaking recipe guide. Like, good luck.
For my personal satisfaction, what do you hate the most about Peloton?
Oh God, what do I hate most about it? I just can't stand like the whole bullshit celebrity, like, well, there's two sides to it. Like, number one, like, that's not what they do to look that way, people. I mean, they're teaching a class, they're getting paid, fine, good for them. But I mean, at the core of it, and I know they do some strength training stuff, but at the core of it, it's still cardio queen crap, right? And from my standpoint, from the sciencey standpoint, you are ruining middle-aged people, right? What people don't understand is things like Peloton and Orange Theory, and even like insanity type programs, right? Even Beachbody type stuff on the higher end levels. That shit is jacking up middle-aged, especially women. Their hormones are going, and like it's so bad for them in the long term. It's so bad for them. It ruins them physically, ultimately emotionally. It's just not a good place to be.
To me, it's big fitness.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Let's just throw as much fucking money and tech at this as possible. Let's get these personalities that ultimately they're not going to teach you anything. That's the thing. Like, you're not going to learn anything. So
there's no progression. There's no periodization.
Sure. I guess it's a good business model because it's a consumable, right? You don't want people to learn because they have to keep doing it indefinitely. But ultimately, what happens to most people, just like anything in the history of fitness, you buy something, you end up not using it.
Yep.
Right. The treadmill becomes a clothes hanger. Your Peloton bike becomes like a place you can stretch your hamstrings with, put your foot on a seat of a bike. But honestly, I just hate. It might be like the contrarian in me, but I always hate the things that are just like, oh, this is the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, and that might be the old man in me now, and I try to fight that every day. But I just, having been in this space for so long, and I even know someone that is on that platform who's actually a really good trainer. He won the Men's Health Next Top Trainer, Andy Spear. So he might be upset at me saying something like this, but ultimately it's my opinion. I like him.
Yeah,
and I think he's good.
Hey, good for him. He's
sure.
capturing a cash flow opportunity that he has made for himself. Good for him. That doesn't mean that 90% of the people who are buying Pelotons either should be buying them or aren't. Like, I have a thing with Orange Theory, and then you could say, hey, that's because you're a local fitness studio. Orange Theory is kicking your ass. Yeah, but like, if they were kicking my ass and delivering something that was really high quality and transforming the majority of people's lives, I'd be cool with that. But they don't have 1,000 people showing up every week, even though they have 1,000 members. Like, most people aren't showing up, and there's a lot of burnout. There's a lot of burnout, a lot of injuries. All right, so it's for a certain segment. And a lot of these programs they are meant for a younger population, not to sound like an old person, but like, after a while, you have to understand, how does this not only impact joints, but how does it impact hormones? That's a huge piece to this. And, hey, we both grew up in the high intensity interval training world, and a lot of the foundation, what we do is that, but we do it smart, not crush your soul and ruin your hormones, right? There's a gut health aspect. Right. These are two huge pieces of weight loss and fitness that people do not pay attention to. And you've got to understand how exercise impacts both of those things. Because at the end of the day, if your hormones and gut are screwed up, I don't care. You could do the best program in the world. You ain't getting results.
Bottom line, you're not going to solve your health and fitness problems on a stationary bike.
Yeah.
Alone, right? Again, it's especially for, like, again, it blows my mind too. Like, so you're going to sit all day, and then you're going to sit to work out.
But now they have a treadmill with the little with the little hand weights on the treadmill.
That's the treadmill that was killing babies.
Yeah, right. Exactly, getting run people over.
But anyway, so ultimately,
and your 5-pound dumbbells that come with it, right? Like,
yeah, sure. Look, it's and by the way, like, I'm not an influencer. People consider me that. I'm not like upset with you for saying it, but like, to me, if after I've addressed this, if you continue to call me an influencer, I would be offended, because I'm not trying to, I don't like, the big fads in fitness, right? So it's egomania, right? So it's basically the person's name, method.
Yeah.
Like, so it's all about proliferating your specific style of exercise, elevating yourself in this platform where like CrossFit or Peloton, these things that just try to become like basically waves, right? And at the end of a wave, it crashes.
Yeah.
And you just try to get out as soon as possible and get all the money you can. This is exactly what's going to happen to Peloton. It's exactly what happened to CrossFit. It's exactly what happened to any infomercial fitness product, in history. I don't care if I mean, I want you to, as a big part of it too. I want you to do it. If you sign up to the Daily BJ, do it.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate the monthly subscription, but I appreciate it more if you actually engage in the exercise, support other members, whatever. Right. So anyway, I could go forever on Peloton. And then again, you see them on ESPN, and again, the average consumer, because again, they are influencers, right? And what happens in these situations is they get connected with corporations. They're getting Nike deals. They're getting on Masterclass. They're, again, like, so now the public is forced to believe these are the top people in the field. Though if you ask them to design a progressive 1-year program, they couldn't get past the second week.
No, they couldn't get past. They couldn't even write the first workout, quite frankly. And that's where I see where you're going with the term influencer. Because I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's an influencer. I influence people. You influence people. Everybody influences people. But this influencer term, unfortunately, you've got people who don't know their ass from their elbow, who are teaching things, who are representing or teaching things that they shouldn't be teaching. It's like the Kim Kardashian effect, right? Like, you're famous because of what? And now your younger sisters are famous because of what? Not saying they haven't done anything with that fame. Like, what's the young one who's like a billionaire now, built a makeup company or some shit. Like, she took the name and did something pretty freaking incredible, right? Even more than her, than Kim did, right? But like, you're famous because of what? You didn't actually produce anything of value for the world. When I think of fitness influencers, though, I'm not thinking of those people. I think of like you or Jeremy Scott, like people who are out there producing content. You have a large amount of followers. You're putting value in the world. And both of you, if I said, hey, can you write me a program, would write a kick-ass program. Right? That's kind of the difference. But I can see what that term would bother someone like yourself.
Well, the other difference is I own my content.
Yeah.
And again, like, I played that game where I made some incredible stuff and Men's Health exploits me. I'm making a penny on the dollar. Like, it's literally like my initial catalog when I'm young, hungry, and like, I'll never be able to recreate that initial hunger and passion I had in that first DVD. It just can't happen because I have a home in Palm Springs. Mm-hmm. And I'm 41. Like, so I've got to deal with that. But the reality is all the content I've made since I own. So you can influence.
Yeah. And you did the research. And I know this going back originally because I used to write for you back in the workout automator days, right? You'd come up with a concept for a workout and you'd be like, okay, Justin, here's the concept. Here's why I'm doing it this way. Here's the rationale behind the workout. And I'd go write an article that we would then give to the trainers to use, right? So all the way back 15 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever it was, there was always method behind the madness. There was always research. I think just about every article I ever wrote for you, you gave me references to use, right? Here's the workout. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this. Like, so there's always been that. And that's the difference between, like, these influencers who go pick up their pink dumbbells or go work for Peloton because I got a hot body. Yeah. So that is, we can talk all day, but we're not here to be angry old men.
No, we are in brief spurts. But again, we're actually still out here doing shit. Other men are just, they're cashing it in. And, the other piece of it too is when you're gifted at something, right? And gifts can be natural and or acquired through experience. All of a sudden, like, it's like you plant a tree and all of a sudden beautiful citrus awaits you.
Yeah.
Full of vitamin C, juicy, right? But it's tough to sometimes explain the gift. Like, there's some of the best workouts I've made. I can't fully explain to you why it's so good. I do the best I can, but you have to experience it, right? It's experiential. It's movement.
Yeah.
It's one of the people always want to fucking talk about fitness, and they don't want to do it. I used to, when I would release these DVDs, people would say, I'm eating a sandwich now watching your DVD. I'm like, and it's funny, but that really is, I was telling Jeremy Scott this, it's like he's built this amazingly successful podcast for lots of reasons.
Yep.
But one of them is because there's a lot of people listening that just love to hear him talk about fitness. They don't necessarily like to work out, but again, there's this phenomenon of people just like being associated by listening to it. I guess maybe I feel like I'm doing something for myself. I don't know, but the kind of segues into the thing we've been working on together that is coming out at the time of recording this in a few weeks. Do you want to start talking about it a little bit and let them know what we mean? Because this is, by the way, I'm going to set the stage for it, and then I want you to come in and add your 2 cents. You mentioned earlier too, the tough times make hard men, hard women, right? They also, they create vacuums and unique opportunities for the people that are present and willing to take action today.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I mean. There's been a huge vacuum created in the fitness industry. Half the people left during the pandemic. Now you could say the casual mind or casual consumer fitness would say, okay, it means this is not a good time to invest in fitness or to take on fitness as an enterprise. The intelligent person, right, when the economy hit the fan, hit the wall, I don't know what I'm saying. In 2008, I'm like, wait, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, next year at this time, got an election cycle coming up. It ain't looking good. By the way, those wet markets ain't going anywhere. So I don't know what's going to happen to the world in the next, but I do know that everyone else out there, the average person, is going to just sit and wait. And there's going to be a handful of people that will actually jump on the opportunity of filling this vacuum. And by the way, we're 3 to 5 years away from AI being so complex and potentially progressive and intuitive that, like, to me, this is like I look at it like real estate. So you want to buy when the costs are down, or, at the same time with real estate, there's only so many houses. And I think that's one mistake people think they make is, it's digital, so anyone can have a home. And with digital real estate, you get to the point where, and we're already kind of there in the sense that it's so saturated and so competitive. Like when we got into this, there were like 10 people. There were 10 names in fitness. Now there are thousands. And we've essentially gone away from, there's been a couple power brokers that decide who is the expert. Men's Health, right? These are the people you should follow in fitness. And now Men's Health can't even compete with influencers that have bigger followings than they do.
Right.
Or people like me that might have more of an underground following, because I'm not an influencer, bro. I'm not, I don't want to be your friend. I just want to share my knowledge with you, and you decide what you want to do with it. And that's it, and that's what I'll continue to do. Hopefully I can empower you, entertain you occasionally, but whatever. So there's a 3 to 5 year window here where any potential digital real estate left, it will be gone in 3 to 5 years, because then you'll get to the point where now AI is just going to determine things beyond even our current comprehension in the present, if that makes sense, right? Because we don't know. It's going to be exponential. So there's a unique opportunity right now, which is I'll hand it to you in terms of what we're working on.
Yeah. So like there's this, we have, and I'll give a shout out to Peloton here, and let me explain why.
Well, they're marketing geniuses.
No, they got more people, and the pandemic obviously was the leading edge of this, and then Peloton is the one who probably capitalized the most. Timing is everything, right? Getting people comfortable with working out at home, right? Because for a long time, you had the Jane Fonda DVDs and the Reebok Step DVDs and the Insanity DVDs, the Beachbody DVDs, but the pandemic really forced people to make a decision of either not going to work out or going to work out at home. Now, a lot of people, even in my world, chose not to work out. And for the times that we were closed, they didn't work out. When we opened, they came back. When we closed again, they didn't work out. And when they came back, or they never came back because they fell off the wagon. But many people, I've noticed about 30% of my clients stayed online because of the convenience factor. They realize, I can do this. There's some coaching. There's a follow-along component to it, whatever the piece is. I can do this at home. So there's a different mentality happening in the world now where people are like, I don't need to go to a big box gym, and I don't even need to go to the local training gym, because there's online solutions. Now, the challenge with most of these online solutions we've addressed, other than the fact that like most of the workouts suck in general, if you actually know what you're talking about, there's no actual progression from workout to workout. There's no program design behind it. It's really more like a Netflix of fitness, where like the user is left to decide which workout they should pick. And they always generally gear towards the same one because that's what they're comfortable with. So they never get outside their comfort zone. They never grow. They never really truly transform. Right. So what you have done over the years and really perfected it in 2023 was taking this online component and how do I build in, if I was going to design a progressive training program like we do with the Transformation Club, but how do I do it in an online capacity where it's taking people on a journey over the course of 12 months. So I start with workout 1, X1, and I go all the way to X60. Like there's all these workouts that it's like music, right? It's a symphony. Like everything flows from one to the next. And that's how you and I have always, from the back in the day, saw programming. We both always thought in terms of, even when we had like our boot camp stages, like this is the workout we're doing now because that's the workout we'll be doing later, right? There's always been this like annual training flow to the workouts, right? And and what I think you did brilliantly was say, okay, what do I know about home fitness? Well, the workout's got to be short, right? There's a certain attention span, 20 minutes or 40 minutes, depending on who I'm working with, right? Different levels. Follow along is really key, right? That's a must. There's 2 types of follow along. There's like follow along, like on a DVD where you're doing the whole workout. And then there's follow along that uses more of like looped B-roll, which seems to be the trend, right? Because people don't necessarily want to always hear you working out and sweating and talking the whole time, because that's actually distracting to some people, right? I just want the background. I got a timer. I got the person demonstrating the exercise I can follow along with, right? And then the mix of enough variety, what we would call exertainment, with progressive programming, right? And that's the key, like this progressive programming pathway, which is actually what I dubbed it, that you created, right? That's the name I came up for, it was this progressive program pathway, because that's really what it is. It's a pathway to success. So we're super excited because BJ came to me and my partner Pat and said, I want to license this content to trainers. I want to give them the opportunity to build their own online empires, whether that's a couple extra $100 a month, a couple $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever level that they want to do it. It could be as a add-on to their current business. It could be a downsell, or maybe they're doing in-person training and they need a downsell, people who are looking for something a little less expensive. It could be a complete business. We have nutrition coaches for my other business, Nutrition OS. Well, they want to have an exercise solution, right? So there's a lot of different opportunities. And we said, okay, cool. This, I'm obviously familiar with the program. I've been in your community for years, last 5 years, I think it's been. And, so we partnered up, and basically we're taking BJ's creative, right? And the tens of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours that he's put into creating the content that the average trainer is never going to be able to do. It's going to be the roadblock, right, to getting started. Now you can say, hey, we can go back to the conversation about Janelle's 21-day detox. You can break out an iPhone and do a basic video. That works. That worked a few years ago. Nowadays, the quality's got to be higher, right? So there's a huge barrier to entry for most trainers to build their own content. So by licensing this content and combining it with the marketing skills that I have to now build a business around it, it's just kind of a beautiful partnership. Right. So between, the relationship is really, it's BJ on the content expertise side, subject matter expert, myself on the marketing and business building side of how to put all this together and create an actual business so that people actually know you exist and you have this training solution and what that looks like, with BJ and yourself. And then Pat is obviously he's the connector in fitness. I mean, that's kind of who he is, right? He's kind of the Godfather connector in fitness to help us bring this to the masses of trainers. And he just happens to be a business expert. So he'll be adding his business expertise to it as well. So it's a beautiful, three-way those are the best ways, right? To help trainers really kind of overcome the major barriers to building an online business, which is the trend that a lot of people who I'm working with in the fitness entrepreneur space want to move towards. Whether they want to do it because it's the next trend, some people want to do it. Some people just don't want to leave their homes. Right? They want to have they want to work from home and build a home and be closer to their families, and be able to, especially with young kids, they don't want to have to be at the gym for 12 hours a day. This is another opportunity for them to build a more family-centric business. I think that's another thing that's come out of the pandemic. It's another thing that's come with online as AI proliferates. It will allow you, if you use it correctly, to build a more family-centric business, a more lifestyle-based business. So we believe that this license and this partnership is going to be a huge opportunity for fitness professionals to be able to utilize the content to create their own online empires.
And it's called Online Workout Automator. And again, just some background on this too, guys. I had originally a product over a decade ago called Workout Automator. And at the time, it was these iPhone videos of me, it was like satellite footage of me doing the movements in my old gym in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a fitness asylum. We sold that for $200 a month. Even back then, again, they were the best workouts I could make at the time, but production quality.
Yeah, and those are behind the scenes. Those were, hey, trainers, here's workouts that you can implement into your boot camp or large group training program.
Yes.
They weren't consumer facing. It was just to educate the trainer so then they can go into it. Because, trainers often find real quick, they may love programming, but they realize to actually build a business here. And now I'm my time is split. And it got to the point where, if we can create these workouts for people to implement in their large group training or boot camp environments, or even in semi-private one-on-one, it took a lot of pressure off of them. So they could use these either as guides or just swipe and deploy. And it was a phenomenal resource. That's the part I had mentioned earlier as well. I didn't mention the name, but that's what it was. And I love it.
It was done for you programming, but now this is done for you programming plus. Again, 90. The Speed Shred had, I think, 18 workouts, and people paid $150 to $200 for that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
90 DVD level instructional plus follow along workouts, plus the images that come with it. And by the way, it's not about me. If it was, I'd make you call it the Gaddour method.
Right.
All right. You can rebrand these resources. You can put your name and face on them. What this really was is I wanted to create what I needed 10 years ago when I started StreamFit. When I started StreamFit 10 years ago, the first streaming platform in fitness on the market, it didn't succeed, but it laid the groundwork to end up working at Men's Health and essentially being this opportunity today. So that
was hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment from private investors.
$250,000.
Yeah.
All right. And fast forward to today, to make all this content cost me $25K. So again, we're talking a tenth of what it costs. Again, $25K is what probably the average trainer makes a year. So this is a non-starter. You can't even get started with this. And by the way, this is not only an opportunity, I can always make more content. But if you look at it from the standpoint of I've got a ready-to-go business with 2 subscription models, a basic and advanced or premium.
And we got splinter programs.
10 plus done for you products you can sell, you can mix. Again, this is a proven model. This is my model that I perfected over the years. And I could definitely do more if I wanted to. But again, it all comes back to lifestyle, how much time I'm willing to put in to get what I need to live this way. And I've identified that amount of time.
Yeah,
I could always do more. But from my standpoint, I'd rather empower other trainers to use the content that I've dedicated the last year of my life to on 20 years of experience to go help people and allow them, if they wanted to. This is also, you could consider it a year to get ready to start making your own content.
Exactly. It really does set you up in a lot of ways. It's, number one, it gets you started with online content that you can use. And, if anybody's thinking out there, well, but what Beach is in the video? Well, if you're using Trainerize or any of the other major platforms for online training, you're not in the video either, right? You don't need to be in the video. Once you actually understand how to use the content, which is where I come in. There's all the marketing aspects that are done for you, created for you by me. I should be very well compensated copywriter level stuff that you're getting, the business building aspect of it. But the other piece to it, and I mentioned this to you, early on in the conversation was like, this is like a master's level education in progressive programming. Really nice for the young trainer, and even the older trainer who just always loves to learn, right? So just, I mean, if nothing else, it is a master's education in progressive program design, hence the progressive programming pathway that we call it. So, I mean, I think that alone is an exciting benefit of it as well. We're going to be building a certification on it. We'll be doing a live event. So lots of cool stuff that we've got coming along. We'll be doing a webinar on it. I don't know if that'll get in the show notes for this particular episode, but I know BJ will be mailing about it. So if you guys are listening, make sure you're on BJ's mailing list to get information about it. If you are a trainer, this is a webinar. Whether you're going to utilize the content or not, this is a webinar that you need to be on, because BJ is going to basically break down, kind of like the blueprint of building an online business. And if you want to use online workout automator as a tool to build your business, you can do that too.
And what's also crazy about this too is I started obviously personal training, corporate community boot camps, got into online startups, but I began early in my career helping other trainers. I basically was just giving the systems I was using for my boot camps, both workout and business. That was Boot Camp Blueprint, the business piece, and the Workout Muse. People don't even know what that is, but it was basically audio interval training soundtracks.
Yeah, let me jump in here real quick, because first of all, two things that came up for me. One was the whole Boot Camp Blueprint, and then eventually Workout Automator. Like, those were the foundation to the business that I've built myself. So the Transformation Club wouldn't exist without starting off with BJ providing done-for-you content and having help with the marketing and having help with programming. Even though I was great at programming, it was more learning, more education. So like, it was the kickstart that I needed to feel confident leaving the health club and starting my own business into summer of 2009 is when I started my business. That's a pretty dangerous time to start a business, right? So it was this starter content that I had available. And then over time, I mean, here I am today with the Transformation Club, with Janelle's, six-figure health coaching business, with, co-ownership of a nutrition certification and business building program, now getting into this, business coaching for fitness entrepreneurs, working on a supplement company now. Like, all of these opportunities trace back to getting some help from BJ and Pat, our other partner in this venture. So that's pretty cool, full circle story. And secondly, I was thinking about this the other day, because I mean, a lot of people use, I think you use it too now, when you're on your own, maybe use like Seconds Pro as a timer. Like,
sure,
your app was the first. It was the first Seconds Pro. It's pretty fascinating when you really think about it. Like, it was the first interval timer. And you had built-in workouts. You could create your own custom workouts, and you can even add your own playlists. Like, it was like, talk about like that and StreamFit were two programs that were just way ahead of their time.
I appreciate that, man. And again, the other piece of it too is, you mentioned, well, he's in the video, not me. Well, again, sorry, the AI is not good enough yet where we can replace your face. If we could replace your face on my body, I'm fine with it. Again, like, it comes down to a couple things here, right? So for me, legacy, I'm 41. I hope by the time I'm 50 that if I continue to be in this space, it's all by choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'd like to do some other things in my life too. I'm not sure yet what. I'll find that out. I just need the time to figure that out. But also, like, what I'm best at is making content. I'm a hands-off coach. I'm a very introverted person. So for me, this allows me to share my gift, do what I do best, and then empower people that are like natural born, like coaches, that actually get energy from it, like helping people at that more granular level. The other piece of it too is, like, people have no problem selling affiliate programs. Did you make that protein powder you're selling? No. And again, like,
in the face of it too.
I have to say too, like, you get all the money from it. Like, I'm not asking for an ongoing cut. It's a one-time, lifetime license at a price that were initial price, by the way. It's like, this is ridiculous. We will raise it for this first group of people. And by the way, those listening, I'll put in the show notes the link to opt into this special newsletter list where, I'll let you know right away when it's ready, the webinar for this, but also ongoing business tips as I kind of now transition over into more training the trainer type of work. So I'll let you go.
Well, I was gonna say to the video thing, and we'll address this. I mean, people, that's gonna be my part of the webinar. And I'll go into a little bit of this in helping that aspect. Like I said, Trainerize and OneFit and all these big name apps that people are using to build online training businesses in a more one-on-one style. By the way, there's gonna be a one-on-one component. It's all one-on-one, but like a custom programming component, right? There's gonna be the preset program period, the periodization, the program pathway I mentioned earlier, but there's also going to be a library of like 1,000 exercises that will allow you to do the customized training just like you would do in a Trainerize, right? It's BJ in the video instead of the Trainerize guy, right? So that's the only that's an irrelevant piece to it. It's such a minor piece that people often get hung up on, but like again, Trainerize and all these other apps, you're not the guy in the video. And you don't need to be the guy in the video. You need the guy building the relationship, or the gal building the relationship with the client. And by the way, it doesn't matter if you're a female and you have female clients and the BJ's in the video. It doesn't matter. A lunch is a lunch, right? The program's the program. So you build a relationship, you make the connections, you do the marketing aspects that are going to come with the program. That's why it's called Online Workout Automator, because we're going to help you automate the business aspect of it as well. So it allows you to now go and build a relationship. Whether you want to do that online, as we talked about earlier, and AI can be a potential tool for you, or you want to go to the Chamber of Commerce, BNI, local men's group, women's group, what have you. And shit, I mean, this is also just, if you do one-on-one in-person training, this is a master's in program design.
And you could upsell people that are struggling with particular aspects of the workouts into FaceTimes. I charge $300 an hour for FaceTimes. Yeah. I phase that out because I'm now focusing more on more scalable things for me at this point.
We do things, even like with our Nutritional OS licensees. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Nutritional OS today. We'll do that another time because it's nutrition license and workout license, right? We do things with like VIP texting. Like for an additional $97 a month, we get daily texting Monday through Friday, and people don't abuse it, and they actually see high value in it. You could do the same thing with there's a tip for you guys out there, right? Accountability is what people need, right? So if you're an online personal trainer, you should have an upgrade that includes Voxer or WhatsApp or just regular texting on a daily basis. Nobody abuses it. It can be a huge opportunity to stay connected with your clients and keep them long term.
And the other piece too, I forgot to mention, is they're getting a done for you website, hosting the content.
Oh, yeah, all that. Yeah, there's so much to me. Again, we're doing a whole webinar on it.
Yeah, I mean, to me though, by the way, I had to, back when we launched StreamFit in 2011, it cost $100,000. It cost $50,000 to make the beta, which wasn't good enough. So another $50,000 to make the alpha. So $100,000 all in just to host the content. So again, this is a mind-blowing opportunity, and we'll teach you how to make your content, your own content along the way in this program, if you want to. If not, again, I can always make more content.
Yep.
So again,
I can tell you right now, I will not make my own content. I'll use the BJ content. Why am I going to waste my time making content? But I mean, hey, if you want to make your own content and you're passionate about that, do it. But I look at it from an efficiency, effectiveness standpoint. If I already got great content, well, let me go market the content. Let me go put the content in front of people, right? Rather than go make my own content.
And again, ultimately have more time to do what you want to do, man.
And I've got a library of 100, not 1,000 exercises, but 100 plus exercises. And that was a nightmare to make.
Oh no, dude, it's an incredible amount of time. And again, it could only have happened from a decade of mistakes.
Yep.
Again, this is just, there wasn't someone like me showing me how to do this in 2011, but now there is someone that can do it for you in 2023. And that's the way the world works.
You come full circle with the conversation. This is Bootcamp Bootcamp Blueprint all over again, but for the online community. That myself and a lot of people I know, that was the launching ground in 2009 for a lot of business that lasted and still exists today through the pandemic. Bootcamp Blueprint, and two of the people who ran that program were you and Pat Rigsby, and two of the people who are doing the online Bootcamp Automator are you and Pat Rigsby, and then me, right? So it's pretty cool how it all comes together, and this is where I think we're going to take the next decade of online training, a bunch of people with us.
That's the goal, man. So I'm super excited about it. Again, check the show notes. We said this would be an hour. It's 2. So a couple of things quick. If you could just take the time to like, share, subscribe. If you are on iTunes or Spotify, a 5-star rating and review is much appreciated. It helps us get the good word out to good people like you. But Justin, where can they learn more about you? Not only your gym in Minnesota, but also your Nutrition OS program, which is fantastic. We'll put it in show notes as well.
Yeah, I mean, just the transformationlife.fitness is the hub site for all things that Janelle and I do. So if you want to, follow us there, the podcast is there, the blog is there, all that good stuff is there. We can put a link to that. We can put a link to, so Nutrition OS, we can have a whole nother conversation another time. It's Nutrition Operating System. It's a partnership I have with Pat Rigsby. Again, that name keeps coming around. He's the major connector in the fitness industry. And Dr. Mike Roussel, who is just, superstar nutrition doctor. So we've got this program where we essentially help trainers build their ideal nutrition coaching business, which is a lot of fun. So it's kind of it's kind of funny when I said with BJ when he came to me, I'm like, wow, you're really coming at the right time, because we've got now this nutrition, and now we've got you bring in the exercise component. It's a beautiful match.
It's the jab and the cross, right there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful match. I mean, you can't ask for that. If you want to check out Nutrition OS, just go to nutritionos.org/secrets, and I've got a little special report there for you. So there's no www for some reason for that website. It's literally like it's https:// just type in Nutrition OS as an operating system.org/secrets, and it'll pull up the page. You can download the special report. You can check out the webinar if you want to. You can contact me directly through there. Justin,
man, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you those for listening. Lots of great stuff is coming down the pipeline. Check the show notes for more. And at the time of recording this, I wish you a very healthy and happy holiday season. We'll be back with more, and fuck Peloton.